Hello,
Hey guys.
my friends. How's it going?
We're back.
We are back.
We're back. We've been like in the void for a while.
You guys were like, where have they been? They went silent.
That's because we were in Europe, and turns out
it was awesome.
T-Mobile, yeah, it was awesome. Turns out T-Mobile Global One plan is not awesome as we thought it would be.
Bueno.
It was okay, but it was not enough to do Instagram Live.
Like, you couldn't even do stories.
I couldn't even post on
We
Instagram.
were really posting. And you guys, we were so busy. It was awesome. We took 20 people. And, well, we started out, you guys have seen some of the pictures and things coming along, but it was awesome. Like, start New York City time, and then on to Berlin. We hit the memorials there, and food that would blow your mind.
The food was awesome.
It was incredible. Oh man! And what was fascinating, you guys, is when we landed in Europe. Like, we knew as a family we missed Europe, but when we landed over there, we were all like, "Oh,
we missed it so
good to be back." Even our 13-year-old son, he's like, I knew I missed it, but I didn't realize I missed it this much. Like, both he and Kaya were just like so stoked to be back, and so were we. Like, it felt awesome to be back over there.
It was really cool. It was really good to be back there. It was just, the trip was like everything we had hoped it would be and more. And so, yeah, it was just
like life-changing awesomeness. And some of the big takeaways are like, we all study history, right? Don't you love to learn about history? I love learning about history, learning about what happened, and just learning, right? We're voracious and curious learners. But you guys, you can learn about history, and then when you go stand there in person where it happened.
Yeah.
Because then you get to like feel it and sense it and touch it. And we literally had the people on our tour with us. I literally invited them to touch things.
So we were like in the concentration camps, and they were, even showing us places where people had been shot, like where the firing wall was, and like where they had been doing like horrible experiments on people. And we were down there, and we touched, the walls and the cells, and it's very powerful, because it is this physical connection with history, for one thing, and like the horrors and the terrible things that were going on. So it was really touching. It was really powerful and emotional. And
oh man, it makes it so real.
Yeah.
It makes it so real.
But that's what it's all about. Like, that's why we do these trips. And like, I think for both of us, I was recommitted to continue doing these, because not only is it great for us and for the parents, but it's awesome for the youth. Like, that's what it's about. It's about helping the youth catch this vision of, first of all, the expanse of history, the expanse of humanity, the good and the bad of humanity. And then we talked a ton with them, like Greg was leading all the discussions and everything about, like, what does that mean? What does that mean for our lives now? Like, what does that mean for who we are and who we want to be and how we're going to interact with the world, and, like all these different things. It was super powerful, like being able to hear them vocalize those types of things and talk about, like, well, I want to be kinder to my family, and I want to stand up against bullies, and I want to, like, have more compassion for people I don't understand.
Ooh, and many of them said they wanted to raise a voice, like they felt like they had to be some kind of voice for good and for this force for good in the world. Like they had to. So some were like, I have to write this. I have to get it in writing and get it and share it. Some people were like, I gotta tell people about this. I have to stand up for somebody, and it's just so empowering and so cool when we feel the impact. And say, I need to do something about this.
We feel moved to take action. And ultimately, for us, that's what it's about. Like, that's why we're going out and traveling. That's why we're creating these trips. Like, we created this whole trip with a very intentional purpose, and this was a big part of it, of getting us, because we feel that that's really what travel should be about. It's not just about going out and being a tourist. It's about, there's some quote that like that travel is more about the journey within than it is the journey without.
So
like
true.
It's about, how is this transforming you? How is it going to make you a better person? And for us, that's why we love to go to different places and different cultures and interact with different types of people, because it's helping us to learn and understand from their point of view what they're like, see for ourselves, instead of all the stereotypes we hear about, all the prejudices that we pick up on.
We just you guys, it's almost like
you
we
did a
absorbed
podcast.
it. Yeah, I did. My whole last podcast episode is about this, you guys, and so go check it out. It's called The School of Awesome Sauce, by Greg Denning, and it's on. You can get it on all the major podcast outlets. But I did the whole podcast on that. Like, we gotta be able to, let it affect us, so we can throw off the crap that we've kind of just picked up along the way. Because you roll along, somebody throws out a joke or comment, and it's almost like we just absorb it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves making racist and prejudiced comments, but without thinking we're racist or prejudiced. We just kind of like throw that out there until somebody calls us out on it, or we're going and have an experience that goes, oh my gosh, what did I just say? Right. What did I just do? And when you go over like this World War II trip, you realize like they were so strategic, just about subtly, just this subtle separation between you and another human being. Mm-hmm. And when they start moving that just a little bit, you start really like, that is sick. It's sick and wrong. And one of the major things, Teacher Candace just finished The Hiding Place after listening to podcasts. Yeah! Nice, way to go. I love that book. That's life-changing.
We have been to The Hiding Place.
I told that story
on
the podcast.
Not on this trip, unfortunately, because it's too far west.
But you guys, like, we have to let it change us. Mm-hmm. And here's what hit us, you guys. You walk in, so we went to this memorial in Berlin. It's called the Memorial to the Murdered Jews. And you go underground, you go under all these, like, they have all these, like, kind of stele, whatever those things are called. It looks like a massive, like, a pushed up cemetery. It's really cool. But you go underground, and right there, the very first thing when you start a tour, it says, because it happened, it can happen again. Right? And the reason we do this memorial is so it never happens again. Isn't that sobering? Because it has happened once, and you think, how did that ever happen? But it did. And because it did happen, that means it's possible it could happen again. And so you and I have to be engaged in a part of this to make sure it doesn't happen again. But the scary part is, the only thing necessary, I think it was Edmund Burke that said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. And so you guys, we literally can't remain quiet. We can't let things happen and just be like, whatever.
And then even on a different level, like, doing nothing, I think in some ways means not doing anything. Like, not leaving your corner of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it means staying in your little, Mark Twain's quote, about bigotry, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness is because you never leave your little corner of the world. And I think that's so true. Like, that's why we're becoming such big advocates on traveling. Like, you have to travel. You need to travel. Your kids need to travel. They need to go out and see the world, because otherwise they stay in their little corner of the world with their little friends and their little experiences, and that's all they see and that's all they know. And it inadvertently, without us intending to do it, it creates bigotry, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. It just does.
Not like we're doing it intentionally or in a guilty way.
It's not intentional.
It's literally by not exposing ourselves to other things, we don't understand them and perceive them enough, and so it just creates a small wall around us.
It's just a natural byproduct, I think. And like,
so Rachel and I, we've moved you guys from saying, maybe travel isn't for everyone, to it's for everyone. It's for everyone.
Like, that's becoming our thing. It is for everyone, because that's what we've been learning being here in the States. And it's not just the States. It happens in every country. It happens in any culture, it does. So all cultures need to do it, but especially if you have the opportunity to do it, and if you're on Instagram Live, you know, on your smartphone watching this, you have the opportunity to do it, right? I'm not talking to the people living with leprosy in India. I'm talking to you. You have the opportunity to do it, and you need to do it because it's an inadvertent byproduct of staying in your little corner of the world is bigotry, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. And the only way to combat that is by going out and seeing the world. It really is.
I got to share what's in the comments here. Annie, I'm glad you shared this with us. Awesome. She said her family went and did a World War II tour in 2015. Totally changed their family. Now both of her daughters have taken World War II classes in the history requirement at the university, which they're excellent classes. That's what happens. It becomes a catalyst.
Well, it becomes a part of who you are and how you see the world.
Right, and then once you've expanded your mind, you can't go back. And so it changes the way you think, the way you see, the way you act, and now what you study, what you pursue. Like, it transforms you if you let it. Now, obviously, some people go out and they travel and they're not reachable, teachable, or touchable. They go out and they're just
they go out traveling.
I saw that thing and like whatever.
Or they go out traveling, you know, to only Disneyland or the luxury resorts
or the cruise ships. And they're like, oh yeah, I've been everywhere. You're like, man, all you saw was the facade.
That's not official travel. So it's got to be some sort of transformational travel where it is the inner journey. It's transforming how you move through the world, really. Now, just because I like to bring it up, like, you know, people are like, well, I still want to have my home and I want to have this home base and I want to live in this, you know, maybe you want to live in this small town for your life. Great.
Awesome.
But you've got to contrast those experiences especially for your kids and for you with the travel.
Oh.
Like, stay in your little house, live there, but then go travel for a month or 2 months or 3 months, you know, a couple times a year.
So we got to share this. So this mom and her son came on this trip with us. Awesome people. Live in a small town up in Montana.
Super cool people were on this trip. These are our people.
Like it was like, can you imagine? Can you guys, in your picture in your mind, just having epic experiences with 20 seriously awesome people that are your new friends?
They're intentional and want to live deliberately and yeah.
So here's what happened. A lot of us, we look at, we go, but I can't do it. And that's where this family was. They're like, it came up on the radar, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. We're like,
really want to do
they
this.
They literally said, we can't do that. There's no way we could do that. Especially because her husband just had a serious car accident. It was a big deal. But her son came to her and said, Mom, I really want to do this. Like, this means a lot to me. And it was that. That was the catalyst for them to go, okay, geez, if it means that much to you, well, how could we make this happen? And that right there, my friends, that's the magic question. When you look at something and you're like, we have to do this. Like, we'll make sacrifices, we'll work harder, we'll do whatever we can. We have to make this happen. How can we do it?
It's that little switch in your mind, and that's really what they did. At first were thinking, we just can't do it. And then because her son was like, I really want to do it, she said, okay, if we did it, how would we make it possible? And asking that question is what makes all the difference. And we told her, we're like, that's it right there. And that's the attitude and the type of questioning you need to apply to all of your life. If it was possible, how would it be possible? And that honestly is like the answer. Like, so if you're wondering about how do you travel with your family, how do you take your kids places and introduce them to these amazing experiences that they need to have? Well, you first start by asking those questions. If it were possible, what would that look like?
Yep. And I think you guys, for some of you that might seem a little odd right here what I'm about to say, but I think just when we start to think differently, we start to recognize opportunities that we didn't see before. So it's almost like the universe and God and everything starts to move in our favor just because we start saying, well, how could I do that? And all of a sudden an opportunity pops up and you're like, what? And then you see something like, I didn't notice that before. And like, I could totally do this and this, and that would make it possible.
Yeah.
Wow. Right? But it will never, ever come up on your radar if you don't start asking the question, well, how could I?
Right.
So let me throw this out to you. How are you going to join us on our trip to Mongolia
Yes,
in July?
please do.
Because we're going to Mongolia, you guys. Life-changing, awesome sauce is what's going to happen there in Mongolia. Okay, but and again, we want you to come with us. The trip's about half full, and it's going to be life-changing. So how can you make it happen? And if you want to, like, we're going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. We're going to
2020.
do Fuji, Mount Fuji in Japan. You guys, we're just going to keep doing these epic trips because it changes us, and we love helping other people have extraordinary experiences and build friendships and transform your life, because the whole goal is to live at our very best self. So we get to the end of our lives and we look back and we're like, boom, I lived.
Yeah.
Instead of, crap, I wish I had done something.
So on this trip, we had a layover on the way back in Dublin. And we went and saw someplace we wanted to go see. It was the Trinity College Library, like, you know, the iconic, huge library with the two stories of bookshelves and like all the ladders and all the busts of great authors and everything. And we were looking in the gift shop afterwards, you know, because you love shopping when you're traveling. And there's this scarf Grape almost got. And it had this little, like, leather thing sewn on it by Jonathan Swift, with a quote by him that said, "Live every day of your life." And that's just like...
When I first saw the quote, I was like, okay. I walked past, and then I stopped and I'm like, no.
Wait.
He's saying, like, actually live it. Don't just be alive, right? Like Earl Nightingale said, most men die at 25 but aren't buried until they're 80.
Because
we're just existing.
We
we're not
live in this
living.
Walking coma. We do. We would actually get louder now, except we're at the co-working.
Yeah, we'd be screaming
like
and yelling, but people
walking coma, people! Get out of your
wake up! So we have to make it happen. We don't say.
I know. Get out of your cubicle.
And you guys, whatever your lifestyle is, that's awesome. Just include adventures. And maybe some of you are like, I don't know if we can or want to go international or go big stuff. Then do small stuff. But literally just...
You got to travel out. You got to get out.
Just start doing things that change you and transform you and, like, force you to question your assumptions and, like, force you out of your comfort zone. Like, we purposely and unintentionally ended up in some really uncomfortable situations on this trip. Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful. And people,
well, it's not so wonderful at the time.
At the moment, you're like, this is like...
annoying.
But it forces you to think differently.
Really, that's the point. And we talked about this on this trip. We're like, that's why we do it. Like, that's why we're here. Like, we're here because it's an annoyance. Like, because of the annoying things. Like, seeing all the cool sights and everything else, the food, like, that's all... I keep getting an alarm going off telling me to do my Instagram Live, but anyways, it's all a part of it. But the other part of it that's critically important, and just as important, I would say, is all the annoying things. It's the interruption to your schedule and your routine. It's the waiting and the delayed flights and the jet lag. And all of that is critically important as well, because it's forcing you to do things you don't want to do. Like, nobody wants to do those things. Nobody wants to spend hours sitting at an airport or have a delayed flight or be cramped in a plane. Like, nobody wants to do that.
Smash on a subway with strangers.
Yeah. But that's why it's good for you.
Exactly.
Because you're doing something you don't want. And I think it's also critically important, because we talked about this while we were there. We've lost, in society in general, we've lost some of the difficulties that actually helped us develop as human beings. Like, we've lost the need to grow our own food and to sew our own clothes and like all these difficult things we had to do that actually helped, I think, in the big picture, reduce anxiety and stress and all these things, because you were busy. Like, you were constantly busy fulfilling your physical needs. Now life is so easy and comfortable that...
I sit around worrying about what my neighbor thinks about the color of my...
Exactly. Like,
what?
So most of our stresses now, instead of being physical stresses, are now emotional stresses. We don't have to worry about growing food, so we worry about Instagram how our friends on Instagram and how their life looks so perfect and how our life isn't as perfect as that. And all these other things. We could go on, but our stresses have become emotional ones. And so we have to intentionally introduce some challenges into our life, because we believe that's some of the reasons that there's so much anxiety and stress and failure to launch and all these other problems that we're seeing, even down to teen suicide. A lot of that is coming from a lack of challenge in our life.
Ooh, which seems so ironic and counterintuitive, but it's so true. I've been working with youth and families for over 20 years. It just works when you have something to get up for and be excited about, something that's challenging you, driving you, inspiring you, and even scaring you and intimidating you. You have something to live for and you go after it. I love it. Now, I love what's been said here. There's nothing wrong with going to Disneyland and liking it. I totally agree. And some there's going to be steps. And I love how you said there that it was like your stepping stone for you as your baby step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Now you just did Scotland.
Absolutely.
Boom!
Yeah.
Fist bump on Scotland. We haven't been there yet. But
no, it's very true.
Take steps, because a lot of people, even travelers, aren't ready for a place like maybe India,
right?
Which is whoa. Even for seasoned travelers, it's pretty extreme. But
now, if you're
just
super
taking steps in the right direction,
do something like that and just go for it. Great, but no, baby steps is a very legitimate action plan.
Yeah.
And again, we're gonna say too, it's not that Disneyland or cruises or there's anything wrong with that, luxury resorts. We've done all of that, but what we're saying is that if that's all you do, then that's when there's a problem.
Yep, I love that.
Contrast.
So it's a step in the right direction. Don't stop there. Don't stop there. Keep going.
And it's great to contrast it. I have no problem going to a really difficult country and then also having some luxury thrown in, or then doing a trip that's just luxury sometimes. Sometimes that's fine to just do a luxury trip. But our point is, if you want travel to transform you,
you gotta have the contrast.
You have to have the contrast,
I love that.
And you've got to have the tough things.
Sweet. So do something that's physically easy and then physically hard, and stay in a hut somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Africa, and then stay in a luxury resort in the Pacific Islands. I mean, do it all.
And especially on our couples trips, we'd actually do that intentionally.
And Eliza says moderation in all things. I'd say moderation in all things except awesome sauce. There's no moderation in that. Turn it on and be determined. And go after it. There you go. Yeah, she knew it. I knew it was coming. Yes. She said accept and striving for greatness. That's my girl. Yeah.
Well, and I like to call it contrast or dichotomy. That's kind of the word. There's the two sides of the coin, and I like to experience both sides of the coin.
Yep,
for me.
Agreed.
So on our couples trips, we do like to do that. So we did a couples trip to Peru. Man, I think it's been a year ago, December now. Yeah. But we intentionally did that. We spent 4 days on the Inca Trail sleeping in tents.
Can you guys imagine doing stair steppers for 4 days?
Yeah. It was very
awesome.
Physically demanding. I was in tears a couple times, not gonna lie.
I even carried her one time.
He carried me.
It was fun.
Yeah. So it was very demanding. But after that, we stayed in probably the nicest hotel in Aguascalientes. And it was super sweet.
Awesome.
Right? So, you gotta have both, I think.
I love
that. That's the point. So, anything else?
Let's see. I told my parents on Sunday that someday I was going to take a trip with you guys. Yes.
Yes.
They didn't understand it, but that's okay. I want to push myself.
Fantastic. Sweet. Can't wait.
Do it. That's so awesome. You guys go on adventures and just get excited about it. And if right now, wherever you're at in your life, if you just do that, just put it in your mind and maybe put it on your vision board or something I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Just that one thing. It's one step in the right direction to say, you know what? I'm declaring to myself and to the universe, to God, to whoever, family, friends, people who won't believe you, say, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. And you're starting in the right direction. Boom.
Yes. That's where it begins.
Get out, make it happen, you guys. Get excited. So if I'd say right now, today's challenge is choose some place or something you want to experience, slap it on your vision board. Mm-hmm. Okay? Start dreaming about it. And don't you dare say, I can't do it. Just say, I can't do it yet.
If I could do it.
If I could,
what would it look
do?
like?
Right?
Yeah.
Nice. Let's see. Giordano. Maybe I said that right. Said who traveled 1 year with their kids. Nice. Love that. Right? And it can be done. So get out and make it happen, you guys. Be excited about it. Make sure you live it every day of your life.
We're back now. So we're doing Instagram and Facebook. Instagram, Facebook Live, noon, every day. So
check out the podcast, School of Awesome Sauce with Greg Denning, and ask questions, get engaged, share any stuff, this stuff that just hits home. You guys, our whole mission is to help families live extraordinary lives. Mm-hmm. So share this stuff, get in the game, be with us, and make it happen.
One more thing. My dad exists in consistency and sameness, which can be good.
It's very good.
It can be great. I love consistency and sameness more so than he does, but I love it. But yeah, the value of travel is that it's forcing you
to get out of the sameness,
out of the consistency and sameness, which sometimes is a great thing. Now, it's great to go back to it too, because it's consistency and sameness is those routines are a great way
to get
of
done,
making progress on goals and making progress in like a skill. Like if you're trying to learn the piano, you've got to have consistency and sameness. If you're trying to build a business, like you've got to have some of that. But again, the contrasting experiences, the dichotomy of life, you also need to interrupt those patterns with travel and other things like that.
I love it. Have both.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys are awesome. Love you. Thanks for being here with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wait, I thought you were going to bust me.
Oh, I'm busting you and them. Boom. Love you guys. Adios, amigos.
Reach upward.
Reach upward.